So Springboks finish the Rugby Championship even with the All Blacks, 19 points apiece. But because the Springboks can score some tries, play some lovely running rugby and rack up big points difference, they go back-to-back Rugby Championship titles for the first time in their history. And the most competitive Rugby Championship ever comes to an end, and probably the last one we'll see for a long time. But let's not be sad because it's over. Let's be happy because it happened. And it happened big this year. Before we get into the full review of it, I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Who was your most improved? Who was your least improved? Who was your player of the tournament? Who played well for you? Who didn't? What did you think of it? What did you think of the fixtures? What did you think of the overall tournament? Let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. Let's get into it. So we'll look at quickly how it finished up. Springboks on top, All Blacks second, Wallabies third, and Los Pumas fourth. Shout out Short Ball Rugby for this graphic. Springboks and All Blacks finish on 19 points, but the big difference is that points difference. Just look at that quickly. All Blacks only had 8, Springboks had 57. 57 points difference. Wallabies with a minus 13 and Los Pumas minus 52. Not their best outing at all. So I'm going to get into each team, kind of a bit of stats on the team, what I thought of their performance, my player of the tournament for each team. And we're just going to get through it again. Jump in the comments. Do I know anything about rugby? Do you know anything about rugby? Let me hear about it. So we'll start with the Springboks first. Played 6, won 4. They go back-to-back for the first time ever. Rassie Erasmus becomes the Springbok coach with the most Rugby Championship titles. He's got 3 now. So that's great. We've got players used. I counted 37 different players used. That could be wrong because my maths is atrocious. But I went through it. I went through the team list 3 times. So I hope that's right. Tries scored 27. Clean breaks 48. Defenders beaten 160. 160 defenders beaten. That's crazy. Tackle success 81%. Scrumming percentages 87%. Lineouts 86%. So just on that, like, it's funny how with such a dominant scrum, they only won 87% of their own ball. I would like to know how those percentages get worked out. We all know how percentages work out. One versus lost, and you divide it up, and you know how it works out. So interesting how that was. I can't believe I've just given a maths sum there because my maths is atrocious. But sticking on topic, it started off for the Springboks pretty rough. Initially, it started off great. That first half of that first game versus the Wallabies go out to 22-5, I think, halftime scores, and they end up losing that game 38-22. So they start off the Rugby Championship with a loss, and it was, man, there was questions being asked, questions being answered. It was what do we do from here? How do we go from here? I'm also that guy where it's like week to week, I'm like riding the highs and lows. I probably need to be a bit better than that. And instead of just jumping to conclusions sort of things, just trust the process. But sometimes you have to ask the tough questions. And Springboks didn't start the Rugby Championship how they wanted to. They ended up getting the right result. And my biggest improvement that I got out of the Rugby Championship for the Springboks was the youngsters getting opportunities. So those guys that have just come into the squad, maybe on their debut, maybe guys that have only played 1 or 2 tests. You're looking at guys like Ethan Hooker, Marnus van der Merwe, Born Venter, Kanan Moody, Damien Willemse. Now, like, I've named Damien Willemse, who's got 2 Rugby World Cups under his belt already. But he's, still young, still under, what is he, 26, maybe 27, still young. Kanan Moody, yes, got a number of caps under his belt, but also still very young. Sasha Feinberg got a number of caps, but also still very young. This is his 2nd Rugby Championship. But just to change the whole, how those guys came in, got opportunity, and how they took their opportunity and just announce themselves to the world sort of thing. That game versus the All Blacks in Wellington, that will go down in history. One of the best Springbok performances ever from a not so experienced, especially backline, but a not so experienced team, and they were just outstanding. So that's probably my biggest improvement from the Springboks here, is those younger players that have come in, into the squad, taken or given opportunities and grabbed it with both hands, and now have put pressure on the other guys within the squad, senior guys, and you're having 2 or 3 players in each position going head to head. And that can only be good for the Springboks moving forward, and scary scenes for any opposition that come up against them. My player of the tournament for the Springboks, Mr. Reliable, Mr. Ever-Present, Mr. I will do whatever you need me to do, Peter Steph du Toit. He missed one game, played 80 minutes in all of the other games. He just keeps going, doesn't he? Just high work rate, keeps going. I've got some numbers down here: 50 carries, 4 clean breaks, 7 offloads. Man, he's a workhorse and just keeps monstering on. So he was fantastic, and my player of the tournament for the Springboks. They get the win, and they just march on. They march on. They hold the Rugby Championship title now indefinitely for a number of years it's going to be, because we don't know when the Rugby Championship will be up for grabs again. Moving on, we've got the All Blacks. Also played 6, 1 for 40 players used. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm not too sure about my maths at the best of times, but that's how many I counted. 40 different players used within the Rugby Championship. 21 tries scored, 25 clean breaks, 161 defenders beaten, tackle success of 87%, scrum 97%. I think I got the South African scrum percentage wrong. Who knows? Line out, 83%. And for the All Blacks, it's a bit of an up and down. My biggest question mark around the All Blacks campaign or tournament this year was the amount of changes that were made within the squad, like week to week, the changes that were made. Yes, some of them were forced with injury. Some of them with just a bit of question marks. I still don't think they have their strongest squad like nailed down, like pen to paper right now. Who's your 1 to 23? The All Blacks. And I don't think Razor knows that. I don't think he knows that. I think there's still a bit of tinkering that needs to be made there. Some guys need to be swapped out. Some loyalties need to be broken maybe, because something just isn't there. Something is just not clicking in this All Blacks team at the moment. Yes, when people say, oh, they're not what they used to be, All Blacks, the aura of the All Blacks is gone. You're comparing this All Blacks group now to the best All Blacks group, team, squad that ever lived, the best team in rugby that ever lived, that 2011 to 2015. You will never be able to emulate that. So when you say the All Blacks aura is lost, and even teams before that were outstanding, the Tano Manga, the Carlos Spencer, like Christian Cutler, those days, John Olomu, that was a scary cycle of players as well. So to compare this group to that, and I know that's the only thing you can do as All Blacks fans, because that's what you've been living for the most time, but that's tough, man. You can't compare that to anyone. I hope that makes sense. And I hope that gives it a bit more, just like, geez, man, these guys they'll come around, but I do agree that yes, there is still something that's just not clicking within the All Black squad. And something that'll have to improve going, especially playing up north the end of this year. I mean, I could say they could get found out. So could the Springboks. So you want to improve on certain areas, improve on being able to play at full 80 minutes. But I think the positives would be some of the debutants that were made, like Leroy Carter, outstanding. I think Fabian Holland went to a new level again. Yes, didn't get a lot of opportunity, but he was really good as well in this Rugby Championship. My player of the tournament for the All Blacks, Mr. Consistent, Mr. Just, cannot play lower than an 8 or 9 out of 10 every week, week in, week out, full 80 minutes. The type of get on my back and I'll carry this team. Mr. Adi Savia, he was outstanding. Every single game. Also came up with some massive individual plays to win games for the All Blacks. Unreal. He was 58 carries, 16 defenders beaten, 76 tackles, 4 offloads. Just a well-rounded, just one of the best. One of the best. Up there, he's leading the World Player of the Year right now, I think, Adi Savia. Moving on, the Wallabies. Played 6, only 1, 2. Players used 38. So they're getting within their squad or strengthening or widening their squad. Love that. Try scored 21. Clean breaks 38. 140 defenders beaten. 83% tackle success. 92% scrum. They were 100% for most of the tournament. That last game really found them out. 76% at line-out time. And they were good, man. They started like a house on fire to beat the Springboks in Ellis Park, where they haven't won a game against the Springboks in 62 years. Come back from 22-5 at halftime. Outstanding. What Joe Schmidt has done with this team in the short amount of time. They were 10 times better than last year. While they only won one more game than last year, this year they were competitive in all games. Let's be honest. Yes, not the best performances in all games, but they were competitive in all games. Still lots of things that need to improve. I think they do definitely lack an out-and-out 9 and 10 combination. James O'Connor, yes, slotted in there. He's not your answer for the next World Cup. Tom Liner had 1 or 2 games. Tane Edmed had 1 or 2 games. Ben Donaldson is hanging around there at 10. Nick White played most of the tournament, but he's coming in and out of retirement. He's not going to be there for the next Rugby World Cup. Tate McDermott, yes, was good when he got opportunity, then bad or serious injury. Jake Gordon is a good option there as well, but they need to knuckle down that 9 and 10 role, because in a lot of times in games where they had the upper hand or they were gaining momentum, the 9 or the 10 just made a bad decision or couldn't just steer them to get the result in the end. A ton of positives. Obviously, a lot more competitive in every single game. It'll just be now how the transition works from Joe Schmidt into Les Kiss. 2 years out of the Rugby World Cup, hosting a Rugby World Cup, you want to be competitive in that one, for sure. My player of the tournament for the Wallabies, there could be a few. And like I said, if you think it's someone else, let me know. I've got the man in the middle, Len Ikitau. He was outstanding. Every single game, he missed one game. Every game he played, full 80 minutes, took a ton of carries, always 54 carries to be exact. Everything that happened well with the All Blacks attack, Len Ikitau was involved some way. Whether he hit that first phase to get them over that advantage line for them to play on, whether he gave the little no-look try assist or put someone through a hole or made a big tackle or defensive read to get a turnover. Just, he was outstanding. Yes, Fraser McWright's an option. Suali'i is an option. Harry Wilson is an option. But I've gone with Len Ikitau just because of how consistent he was throughout the Rugby Championship. He was my man in the middle for the Wallabies, and he was my player of the tournament. I picked him as the player to watch for this Rugby Championship as well, as the Wallabies player to watch, and he lived up to it. Len Ikitau, outstanding. And then moving on, lastly, Los Pumas, Argentina, played 6, 1, 2. 34 players used. Try scored 14, clean breaks 31, defenders beaten 155, tackle success of 86%, scrum success of 76%, and line-out percentage of 88%. Probably not their best year this year. Dropped a ladder position. Last year they came 3rd. This year they've come 4th. Big wins over, obviously, the All Blacks. Their first ever win over the All Blacks in Argentina. Again, while they didn't have their best year throughout, still creating history, still getting better and better as they go. Their attack is improved massively there. I think it's Jamie Moore the Kiwi coach that's been helping them there. Contempomi obviously bringing a fresh kind of idea or fresh face or fresh outlook of how they want to play. And their attack has been sizzling. Could have scored a lot more tries, but just their hands and being more well-rounded, if that's the case. Set piece is somewhere they definitely need to improve on. Their scrum was the worst out of all 4 teams. But got the big win versus the All Blacks. Got a win versus the Wallabies in Australia as well. Again, while not their best year, but still improving on small things, strengthening their squad throughout. And it's been a pleasure to have them in the Rugby Championship. My player of the tournament for Los Pumas this year, Santi Carreras. Played all games, sit the first 2 games on the bench. Ended up as the top point scorer for this year's tournament, 72 points. And to be honest, if he's not there, they don't win 2 of those games, right? Thomas Albanos injured. He went off in that first game, or that game that they won versus the All Blacks. He got injured. Up steps Santi Carreras, takes the kicks, takes it on his back, nails his kicks, nailed all of those penalties versus the Wallabies as well. And while someone like Choco Barras was also probably a standout, I think, again, if Santi Carreras isn't there, they don't kick all of those kicks, they don't make all of those points, and they don't win those 2 games. So I base it mainly off that. He was outstanding when he got opportunity at 10. When he came to plug holes at 15, he was good as well. Off the back of a fantastic year at Gloucester in the Premiership, he's now moved to Bath. Confidence sky high, and he was really good for Los Pumas this year. And there you have it. Overall player of the tournament, I'm going to go Ardie Savia. You look at his stats in that, just consistently throughout the game, and he played all 6 games as well, full 80 minutes. Can't stop, won't stop. Ardie Savia, the GOAT right now, for sure. What did you guys think of it? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. Hit that subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. Bye.